Oh, shit. Okay. It was muted. Oh my god, that is loud. That is loud. Okay, hold up. I got it now. Hold the phone. Where's the volume? Check, 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 check. Okay. Oh my god, that was loud. That was very loud. That was loud. Okay. I had the mute setting on. That is stupid. Alright, so we're just gonna ignore the last 7 minutes of me screwing around my audio. Because I am a putz and don't know how audio settings work. So, we are gonna try this again. Hello everybody and welcome to this UFC 251 main card preview where I learn how audio works and microphones and literally everything else. Okay. So,
can't you full screen that?
Yeah, I'm trying. I gotta figure out how to full screen this.
Camera's up on top, so you gotta look up on that. There you go.
Okay. Okay. The camera's up there. I need this mic on something a little bit higher, though. Hold on one second, everyone. I need that mic on something higher. It's that. Might need another one. Start that. Okay. Okay, now I have the mic stacked on top of 2 books. So that's freaking fantastic. But we are here. We are live. We're going to talk some fights. Because tomorrow night is a pretty big deal. UFC 251 goes down tomorrow night from Fight Island and Yas Island in the UAE of Abu Dhabi. The prelims are 4 hours long on ESPN and ESPN Plus, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. The pay-per-view begins at 10 in the East, 7 in the West on pay-per-view and ESPN Plus. I wish I could figure out a way to full screen this. I don't know why in the hell I cannot full screen this. That is a real bummer of a situation. That I cannot get rid of this because I need to get rid of this. I need a full screen situation and I only have like a half screen situation. So that is fantastic. I guess I have to deal with these settings on screen. I don't know how to get rid of them. I am actively working on trying to get rid of this to full screen it, but I don't know how. You know what? I'm just gonna freaking deal with it. So, like I was saying before, in my room, on my phone, on my laptop, the first fight of the pay-per-view main card is Amanda Revis, who is as of right now, a minus 1,000 favorite over Paige Van Zant, who is fighting on the last fight of her contract. I'm trying to figure out how to adjust the camera.
Well, move to the right.
I'm trying to figure out how to adjust the camera. How can I full screen this?
There you go.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do it like this. And I'm literally gonna hold the mic in my hands. So I'll do it like this. Okay, so the first fight on the main card is Amanda Revis versus Paige Van Zant. Van Zant is a plus 650 underdog as of right now, as of this moment that I am recording this live at 7:30 the night before the fight. So with this fight, Van Zant is fighting on the last fight of her current UFC deal. So you have to wonder where her mindset is. Is she all about fighting? Is she not about fighting at this stage of the game? It's really tough for me to decipher where her head is at. I mean, she's saying all the right things, like she's going to go in there, she's going to take this fight seriously. But if you really stop and think about it, I mean, where is her head at? Going into this fight, especially at a big pay-per-view, especially one like this, where you've got all this going on, you've got, millions of people are going to be watching this pay-per-view. Maybe not millions of people, but definitely hundreds of thousands of people are going to be watching this pay-per-view tomorrow night. So you have to wonder, where is her head at? And for that reason, I got to go with Revis. I can't see Van Zant winning this fight. I mean, I just don't think her head is in the right place. I don't think her mindset is in the right place. So with that in mind, I am gonna have to go with Revis to win this fight. I'll say she gets it done by finish. I think it'll be a late finish, maybe a submission, probably a submission. If I had to bet, I would probably say a submission will get the job done for Revis. But a minus 1,000 favorite is pretty ridiculous, especially for a main card opener on a pay-per-view. So the next fight, the last non-title fight on the card, Rose Namajunas will rematch Jessica Andrade in a fight that took place back in May of last year, UFC 237, a fight Namajunas was dominating, straight up dominating, until the last moments of the fight where she got knocked out by a vicious slam from Andrade in the second round. It was a vicious slam, landed right on her head, knocked her out, and Andrade became the champion. The title's been on a little bit of a hot potato. It went from Andrade to Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili is now the current champion, had the fight of the year with Joanna Jędrzejczyk back in March, but that's neither here nor there. This fight probably determines the number one contender at 115 right now between these two ladies. Namajunas, like I said, looked good in the first fight until the knockout happened. Andrade got dropped, I believe, in the first round. She got dropped pretty good. But Namajunas just wasn't able to get the finish, and Andrade got that crazy slam to win the fight. Namajunas hasn't fought since that fight back in May of last year. She's also lost a couple of her relatives to COVID, I believe. That this fight was supposed to happen on the first card post-COVID back in May, but Rose had like two relatives. I think it was like her uncle or grandparents or something. They passed away from COVID, so that's why Rose, this fight had to be pushed back till now. It's another situation where you wonder where her head is at going into this fight. But Andrade is a pit bull, and this is a 3-round fight. So I kind of like Namajunas to get it done by decision. I think this will be a close fight. I think Rose was doing very well for herself in the first fight until she got knocked out. And in that case, I think I'm going to go with Rose to get the fight by unanimous decision, become the number one contender at 115, and go on to fight Zhang Weili. That's an excellent fight. If that ends up happening, that's an excellent fight between those two ladies. Just give me a second. My dad is trying to adjust it so you guys can see me better. That seems to have worked. Now I gotta sit back. Okay, so now I'm gonna hold the mic up like this. I know you guys can see the mic, but this is the best way you guys can see the camera and you can see my face. Things are just going fantastic here on this lovely little stream. We are trying to adjust the camera and trying to tilt it, but it's a little bit better. So now we move on to title fights. it is all title fights from here on this card. First up for the UFC bantamweight title, the vacant bantamweight title between Petr Yan and Jose Aldo, who is moving down to bantamweight for the second time. He lost to Marlon Moraes, although it was a very close, contentious decision. The kind of decision that you could very well make the case Aldo won the fight, except the three most important people in the room gave it to Marlon Moraes. So, in that respect, you think about Aldo and the position he was put in. Look, Aldo's a big name. Okay? He's a big name at 135, and which is an absolute shark tank right now. I mean, you got Cody Garbrandt, who just came off a big win. You've got, of course, the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley, who just came off a big win. Aljamain Sterling is probably going to get the winner of this fight. So, you look at the fight as it's constructed, and Aldo looks, I mean, it's an interesting fight because Yan hasn't really faced anybody like Aldo, but at the same time, like, he's only getting older. I mean, he's been in just so many wars, like 5-round wars. Of course, he got knocked out by Conor McGregor. He got finished twice by Max Holloway. So, you think about that, and you wonder how much does he really have left in the tank. He says he's good at 135. He says the cut is easier for him to make 135, which is absolutely crazy considering how hard it was for him to even go down to 145. I mean, they were talking about him moving up to 155 at one point to fight for the lightweight title. And now here he is, it's the second fight at bantamweight against Petr Yan, who is undefeated in the UFC. He's coming off the knockout of Uriah Faber back in December. And he looks prime. He looks prime to take over this division with these sharks that are permeating in the 135-pound division right now. I think the championship experience for Aldo will... It plays a heavy factor. It does play a heavy factor in this fight, in the sense that he's been in just so many 5-round fights and 5-round wars over the years. But I gotta go with Yan. He's the younger guy. I think he's got fresher legs. The lights have been turned out. The lights are back on now. Maybe that'll happen to one of these two gentlemen in this fight, but if I have to pick somebody, I'm gonna go with Yan. I think he's younger. I think he's fresher. I mean, you have to consider, too, that, Yan hasn't been in the 5-round fights. He hasn't been in these wars with like Jose Aldo has. He hasn't been in these 5-round just banger fights like a Jose Aldo has. So you wonder about Aldo's chin. You wonder, can Aldo use the leg kicks? Can he get back to what he used to do inside the octagon with the leg kicks, with the counter punching? Because he's really going to have to close the distance on Petr Yan in this fight. I think Yan he's fairly good. Everybody say hello to Rambo. He is now mad that I am talking to you people. So that is fantastic. This is a very loud mic. Holy Moses, this thing is loud. Rambo! Hey! Foul breath. Yeah, this mic is very loud. I'm trying to position it so, like, the camera... Okay, I'm gonna hold it like this. I think I can hold it enough that you guys can still hear me and see me at the same time, as long as I don't drop this. My hand is kind of sweaty. But, yeah, I'm going with Yan. I don't think he finishes Aldo. I don't think he finishes him. I just don't see Aldo being finished by Yan. That's crazy to say, considering, what I just said about Aldo, but I don't see him getting finished. I think this goes all 5 rounds, but I think Yan gets it done. I think he gets it done by decision. Co-main event for the undisputed UFC Featherweight Championship. Alexander Volkanovski defends his title against the former champion Max Blessed Holloway. These two gentlemen fought back in December at UFC 245, a fight Volkanovski won on all 3 judges' scorecards. Won a unanimous decision, 50-45, and then 248-47. So think about that. Think about how rare it is for a challenger in a championship fight to get a 50-45 on a reigning champion. I mean, he didn't overly dominate the fight. I mean, it was more of an outclassing. He didn't really knock Holloway down, like, at all in the entire fight. He really chopped Holloway up with the leg kicks. I mean, they were his best weapon in that fight. But, I mean, it's not like Holloway was like a bloody mess, or, Volkanovski had a bunch of knockdowns. But the fact that he got a 50-45 is pretty crazy. At least in my opinion. And then you have to consider, too, the 3-fight run that Volkanovski went on to win the championship. He beat Chad Mendes, knocked him out. He beat Jose Aldo in Brazil to win, or to become the #1 contender, which is difficult in itself. And then he had to beat Max Holloway, which was very difficult. Now you could say, well, that was Holloway's 3rd fight in 8 months. He had come off that war with Dustin Poirier, then a 5-rounder with Frankie Edgar. So was that the best Max Holloway on that night? Who's to say? Who knows? Boy, I think Holloway's going to come out looking better this time. I think Volkanovski's going to come off looking better, because the thing about a rematch is, Holloway, I think, knows what went wrong in the first fight. I think he knows what went wrong. He knows the game plan now. Can he make the necessary adjustments? A lot of people don't think so. Volkanovski is getting a lot of support and a lot of picks going into this fight. I am not one of them. I am not one of these people. So, honestly, I'm going with the upset here. I'm going with Holloway to win back the championship. I think it's going to be a lot closer than the first fight. Like, I very much could see a split decision here in this fight. And it's going to be very controversial. I think there probably will be a 3rd match between these two guys. But, to me, Volkanovski, I think, knew when he won the title that he was going to have to beat Max twice. And I think beating somebody like Max Holloway twice is just very difficult to do. But, I mean, Volkanovski can do it. I mean, holy crap, more power to him. I mean, that would be just absolutely incredible. But I think Holloway gets it done. I think Holloway gets it done by not unanimous decision. It will be decision. Whether it's a split or unanimous, I say split because I feel like in a title fight, it's very hard to get a unanimous decision if you're a challenger, unless like you completely dominate the fight. And now we move on to the main event. My voice is already shot. I've only been talking for like 25 minutes here. But now we move on to the main event. The main event. Kamaru Usman defends the undisputed UFC welterweight championship of the world against Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, the BMF champion. Honestly, both belts should be on the line here. They're saying the BMF belt isn't on the line. But let's be fair, both belts are on the line here. Both belts are on the line, unofficially in my heart. Both belts are on the line. So how did we get to this point? Usman was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns. As of a week ago tonight, Usman and Gilbert Burns was the main event of this show. Gilbert Burns had knocked out Damian Maia. He had a 5-round unanimous decision over Tyron Woodley. And this was supposed to be the fight before Burns did all of that. But Masvidal had money issues with the UFC. He wasn't getting paid what he felt he should be getting paid. So the UFC went, okay, Gilbert Burns, you're on a roll. Here you go. Here's your title fight on Fight Island. And then Gilbert Burns tested positive for COVID. And then the UFC went, we need a main event to save this card. Usman still has to fight. Let's call Masvidal. So they worked it out, and now Masvidal steps in on 6 days' notice. Now let me explain that. Masvidal is stepping into this fight on 6 days' notice. He had to cut 20 pounds in 6 days to make weight for this title fight. He made weight today. The weigh-ins, I think, were like 12 hours ago or something like that. He made the weight. He said it was a rough cut for him, a difficult cut, but obviously, if one's going to cut 22 pounds in 6 days, that is going to be very difficult to pull off. But Masvidal did it, and here we are, one of the biggest fights of the year, one of the biggest fights in the history of the welterweight division, on 6 days' notice on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. So, who has more to lose in this fight? Does Usman have more to lose, or does Masvidal have more to lose? Yeah, obviously the answer is Usman, right? Because he was training for a jiu-jitsu expert in Burns, a guy who he's been training with, he's been friends with, he's sparred with before in the past. And he had actually moved to Colorado to train with Justin Gaethje. And Justin Gaethje, if you know anything about Justin Gaethje, that is an assassin that Usman is training with in Denver at the Grunge. I think it's the Grunge Gym in Denver. So he's training with Gaethje out in Denver. Burns stayed behind in Florida to train, and that might have been his downfall. I'm just gonna say that pretty quietly because Florida. But anyway, so. Now he goes into a boxer, more of a striker in Masvidal. Masvidal does have good takedown defense. He has some submissions in his record and some submissions in the UFC. But what he's been known for this last year and a half or so is deading people. He knocked out Darren Till, Ben Askren in 5 seconds, and then Nate Diaz to win the BMF belt. There is nobody on the UFC roster right now, in my opinion, that is hotter than Masvidal is. You could say Burns, he did win the 2 fights during COVID, but nobody's on more of a roll than Masvidal. And now here he is strolling in, biggest fight of his life, 6 days notice, 4 world championship, 15 hours from home, had to cut 20 pounds in 6 days, ate a pizza along the way just because he could. So who wins this fight? This is a very difficult fight to predict. But if I have to go with somebody, I like Usman. I like Usman to win this fight. As much as I love Masvidal, I love what he has been doing. I love this run he has been on. He's been on a run. This has been a legendary run that Masvidal has been on since, beginning of last year when he was knocking out Till and Askren and all this sort of stuff. But to ask Masvidal to come in on 6 days' notice and fly 15 hours and cut 20 pounds, that's a big ask, even for somebody like Gamebred. And the fact that he said that the weight cut was rough for him, that right there was a red flag. That in the 4th or 5th round of this fight, if Usman is still coming at him with forward pressure, his wrestling, look, he never even took down Colby Covington. Not once. That was a 5-round fight where they were standing and trading the entire fight until Usman eventually knocked Covington out. If Usman does that to Masvidal here, I don't know if Masvidal's cardio holds up in the 4th or 5th round. Especially if he's right and then his weight cut was difficult. But Masvidal is a live dog. Masvidal is as live a dog in any title fight in recent memory. Holloway is too, and I would even say Aldo is a live dog. But Masvidal, I think, is a true live dog in this fight. When you consider that he got to step in on short notice and Usman wasn't really preparing for Masvidal. Masvidal's people have been saying, yeah, he's been preparing for this fight, even though he didn't get the fight. He's been training with wrestlers. So, this is a very interesting fight. But I just think Usman, especially the Usman, if he fights like he does against Covington, no, I think he is going to be in trouble because Masvidal does have great power and he can counter him. But if Usman goes out there, pushes forward, and lands his takedowns, uses his wrestling, uses his ground and pound, I think Masvidal's going to have a rough time in this fight. I think Masvidal makes it interesting through, the first 2-3 rounds of this fight, but I think later on, I think maybe he starts to fade, and I think Usman comes in, and I think Usman gets it done. I don't think it'll be a finish, because Masvidal's so hard to finish. Even in his losses, I'm trying to think, has Masvidal ever been knocked down in the UFC? I don't think he has. So, for me to predict Usman to win this fight by knockout would just be a little bit of a stretch on a personal level. I just don't see it happening, but I think Usman does retain the title. Yes, I kind of feel boring that I'm predicting, 2 of the 3 new champs, but then I don't pick the 3rd new champ. But I just, even with Usman taking this fight on 6 days notice. Both these guys really are taking this fight on 6 days notice, if you really stop and think about it. Masvidal took the fight on 6 days notice, and Usman had to take the fight. Look, Usman could have just went back to Florida and said, hey, I'll wait for Burns to get cleared up, and we can do this later on. There's a reason Usman kept on this card. There's a reason he's still doing this fight. It's because he believes in himself. He believes that he can beat this guy even on 6 days notice. Even with the change of opponent, even with the change of style, he fully believes he can go in there and beat Masvidal on 6 days notice. And Masvidal, I'm pretty sure, believes he can beat Usman on 6 days notice. It's such a fascinating fight. It's an excellent main event to kick off their Fight Island stuff. Their Fight Island series, which begins... so the Fight Island is actually tomorrow night, UFC 251. Then Wednesday night the 15th, Saturday the 18th, and then another Saturday the 25th. So this is the first of the 4 cards on Fight Island. They said that they might even use it up until 2021 because of all the travel restrictions here to the U.S., the U.S. to other countries. So they might keep Fight Island up until next year. This is only the beginning of the Fight Island lifespan here, and it may not just last past July. But we'll have to see what happens. So let me just quickly run down my full predictions for the main card. I have Revis, I have Namajunas, I have Jan, I have Holloway, and I have Usman. But this should be an excellent card. I mean, I don't know where I'm gonna go to watch this card. Because there's situations I'm not aware of right now. I don't know what certain places situations are. I might just, chill here and watch the fights, to be quite honest with you. But, if I could figure out a way to get this, or a USB to connect to my laptop, I'm going to try to do a post stream with my lovely little microphone here. Probably be on Twitch. Actually will be on Twitch. I don't know if it'll be on Twitch. We might just go right into Call of Duty. Depends on when the card ends. Because with 3 title fights, you're looking at least a 1 o'clock, 1:30 ending to this pay-per-view. So, I mean, finally we finally about to go off, and we finally got the camera working, so you people can actually see me, and I don't have to stare into the camera. Modern problems require modern solutions. That is pretty much what I have. But yeah, this mic is beautiful. I love this mic. But yeah, so those are my predictions for this card. I'm actually going to go because I have to go watch SmackDown in 10 minutes. But let me know what you guys think. All my usual places are open: Facebook, text, Twitter. Let's let me know who you think is going to win tomorrow night. If you watch this video in the future, up until the fights tomorrow night, or even at any point between now and tomorrow. But again, prelims start at 6 on ESPN and ESPN Plus, continue at 8 p.m., and then the pay-per-view is at 10 on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. This is the part of the show where I run out of things to say, my brain kind of just goes. But I'm going to try to do these more often. I'm going to try to find a different cable so I can do this on my laptop instead of this computer, because this computer does get quite a bit of use. I mean, we'll have to wait and find out. But, yeah, I'm going to go. Hopefully you guys enjoy the fights. I can't wait till tomorrow night. I will probably try to get back on the Twitch. I don't know. Probably after the fights tomorrow night. So, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace!